Hi, we are live with the Yes California Yes California Recall Candidates debates. Now, this is not a normal debate platform that we do. Normally, we spend weeks putting things together, but we saw a unique opportunity, and we also wanted to do this as a service to the people of California, you, the voters, and the candidates. Yes California started with the recall debates in March before anybody. And we reached out to 25% of all declared candidates, more than anyone's hosted. And then we used that to parlay and connect to 25% of all declared candidates, more of ballot qualified candidates. And we made incredible connections. Now, some of those candidates told us recently that there was going to be a Republican debate hosted by the Nixon Library here in Southern California, and that they were excluded. We've had some of our staff at Yes California look into this, and we found out that only 7 invitations went out to what they determined were the top front-runner candidates. Now, I find that curious because Caitlyn Jenner was one of the people that they mentioned as a top front-runner candidate, and she has done horrible according to all of the polls of anyone in California. So the question of what is a front-runner candidate and how they define it is dubious at best, given her inclusion. So we are open to any of the recall candidates who were excluded from the debate. If you are a recall candidate, we are going to allow you to the stream. If you are not a recall candidate who is excluded from the debate, we're not going to allow you into the stream. So Malcolm, I see you in the studio. I can't bring you on, sir, because you're not a candidate. So just putting that out there. We watched the Nixon Library recall debate, and we took the 10 questions that they asked all of the candidates. We are going to mirror those questions and mirror the format of the debate for the candidates that you see here. A few other candidates may be joining us a little bit late. Usually we don't allow candidates to come in late, but because this was short notice, we're making a special exception. Steve Chavez Lodge of the Real Housewives of Orange County might also be joining us, in addition to a few other people. With us today, we have Jackie McGowan, John R. Drake, Leo S. Zaki. And thank you all for being here. You've seen these people in our other recall debates. One of our most famous one was the one we had about a week and a half ago with Tom Elias, the reporter who started the 2003 recall, and 10 different candidates, including the top Republican, top Green, top Solidarity, and top Democratic Party candidate, hosted live by Yes California. Today's debate will be co-moderated between Fuji Shiora, the new officer here at Yes California, and myself, Marcus Ruiz Evans. The format is going to be largely, we will ask each of the candidates these questions that were asked at the other debate. They will have 1 minute to answer. I'm just showing you them quickly. You will see them more in depth when we get to it. But roughly, to get the audience and everybody in line, we're going to mirror the questions and mirror the format of the Nixon Library debate to give you, the public, information from all of the candidates, something we have been personally focused on here at Yes California. I'm going to go to commercial. We'll come back from commercial, and then we will start the debate. 1 second. Thank you all. So this is a simple format. We're going to ask you 10 questions. They're the exact same questions that were asked at the at the Nixon Library debate. Again, apologies. We've had about 3 hours to put this together. Personally apologize. You'll be asked the same questions. I will ask a question, then Fuji will ask a question, then me, then Fuji, until all of you get a chance to answer all 10 questions. There may be additional candidates joining us late, which typically wouldn't allow, but we're doing it here for this. So we're going to go in order of appearance so that there's no bias. Oh, Joe Simone. Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for being here. Joe, I'm just going to really quickly cover the outline since we're getting started. So basically, we have 10 questions. We took them from the Nixon Library debate. We're going to ask you the exact same questions they were asked there. You will have 1 minute to respond to each question. Candidates are going to be asked questions in the order of appearance. First to appear was John Drake, followed by Leo Zaki, Jackie McGowan, and then Joe Simon. Joe, you'll be going last. John, you're going first. Leo, you're second. Jackie, you're third. And Joe, you're fourth. But all of you will be asked each of the 10 questions, and each of you has 1 minute to respond. Let's get started. So, Fuji, would you like to ask the first question, or do you want me to ask? Okay, I'll ask the first question.
I'll do it right now.
Okay.
I'll ask the first question. My first question is, what would you do about immigration? That was one of the top questions in the debate. One of the questions was, would you send in the National Guard to the border? What would your solution or answers be for immigration?
I'm sorry, no, Fuji, the first question is, what would you do to get more people vaccinated, or do you believe in personal choice? It's printed on the.
Okay, let me rephrase that. What would you do to get more people vaccinated, or do you believe in personal choice? Do you? Also, this has to concern what we call the Delta variant. So what would you do? Would you consider using a mandate? Because as governor, you do have extraordinary emergency powers. Are you in favor of face mask mandates or not?
First question goes to John Drake. 1 minute to respond, candidate Drake. You probably need to be unmuted. I apologize. John, you have to unmute yourself on your end. John Drake, we need you to unmute yourself on your end. Okay, we'll come back to John. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're going to go to Leo Zaki. Leo Zaki, same question, 1 minute to you. What would you do to get more people vaccinated, or do you believe in personal choice? Candidate Zaki, 1 minute.
Well, I firmly believe in personal choice. I don't even agree with these vaccines being actual vaccines. They've only been authorized for emergency use only by the FDA, and they've actually been using manipulation of language to change the definition of what a vaccine actually is to kind of, I guess, make this sound more acceptable to everyone. But no, I'm firmly against that. Freedom of choice, right?
Okay. The next person up will be Jackie McGowan. Candidate McGowan, you need to unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to respond to the question.
Hi, Marcus. Thank you for having me. And yes, what I would do to get more people vaccinated is address the problem of rolling out vaccines in poor communities. Vaccines have become another situation where it's only available to the privileged, and we should be going door to door or offering mobile services to go, offer vaccines to anyone that wants it. And I do agree, like it should be, a matter of choice, but we need to make that choice available. Thank you.
Wow, short and sweet. Okay, next person up will be Joe Simon. Joe, how do you pronounce your last name? I want to get that correct, sir.
The last name is pronounced Simon.
Simon.
Yes.
Simon. Thank you, sir.
Simon.
Candidate Simon, how would you respond to this question in 1 minute, sir?
Well, the first thing I would do is to leave it optional for the voters of California and the citizens of California, residents, to make a choice for themselves. I won't mandate it, because if I mandate it, and right now we are at Delta, it has mutated. Will they be vaccinated for COVID-19 or for Delta or for another mutation? So this vaccine doesn't seem to be working. It doesn't seem to be working because you actually don't know which one you are vaccinating the people for. So it cannot be mandated. That's my answer.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the second question. Fuj, I'm going to kick it to you. You read off the second question
Indeed.
to him.
Yes, indeed. What would you do to stop cartels and drugs coming into California? Starting with Leo.
Well, you have to take a hard stance against criminals. I personally have lost many friends to drugs that have been trafficked here, even some that have been made here by the cartels. We need to have a stronger presence at the border, for sure, and we need to really give our police the ability and authority to enforce the drug laws that we have. It's a touchy subject when you go further into that, like with prison reform. I would definitely say that people who get caught doing drugs should be sent to rehab as opposed to prison. But those who deal drugs should most certainly go to prison. We have to take that hard line against the cartels, and definitely we need to build our border wall. We need to give our police and our drug enforcement agencies the authority and the power and the tools to get the job done to keep our streets and communities and children safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
Diego, real quick,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Diego, we see you're here. We're going to get to you in a second. Fuj, you were going in the order of appearance.
Indeed. So we go with Joe, and then Jackie.
Leo, Jackie, Joe, and then Diego.
Sounds good.
So next up is Jackie McGowan.
Hello, Jackie. How would you answer that question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Indeed. What would you do to stop cartels and drugs coming into California?
So criminalization clearly isn't working. It hasn't worked for decades. And the only way to disincentivize cartels and criminals from profiting off of drugs is to create a market where we have it, okay? So the legalization of cannabis has been nothing but Prohibition 2.0, and the overtaxation and overregulation has actually fueled the illicit market, incentivizing cartels and criminals to get involved. And until we're able to offer that product at the same price, we're going to continue to have problems.
Thank you. Joe, Simon, how would you answer the question, please? What would you do to stop cartels and drugs coming into California?
Well, the first thing that a governor should do is to protect the Constitution of California and the United States. And I should have zero tolerance on any kind of crime, because that is the work of the governor. I would want to, instead of defunding the police, is to equip them with the modern equipment so that they can be able to fight crime and that they can be able to do their work. And also, I would strengthen our borders so that we do not have problems with the.
I'm sorry. Real quick, Joe, do you have two devices linked in streaming? If you do, that's why you get the feedback loop, sir.
Sorry?
Do you have more than one device into the show?
No, I have only one device, but there is a radio at the neighborhood.
Then forgive us for technical difficulties. We're going to have finish his question. Nothing we can do about it. Let's start over. Joe, your response to the question.
Is that from him?
Yeah, we're gonna. I thought that it was a technical issue. Wow, that was some serious feedback. I thought it was a technical issue. It's not. It's just doing this feedback loop for some reason. So, Joe, we're gonna start over, and you can answer this one question. So, Joe, please answer the question, sir.
Yes. What I said is that the first responsibility as governor would be protect the Constitution, and I would
I'm really sorry, but I can't hear. I can't hear.
Okay.
We gotta
Okay.
hear.
Joe, can I ask you to leave the studio and come back in? That's the only thing I can think of as to why we're getting the feedback. Usually it's because someone has two different devices looked in. So, Joe, if I could ask you to exit the stream and then come back in. If you could. Okay. Let's go to Diego. Hopefully there's not feedback.
No, we can't go on like
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. I'm not sure what to do. The stream is live. You can't shut down the studio.
I am checking. YouTube is live.
Mm-hmm.
The feedback is so bad. I don't understand what you're saying.
I don't know how to fix that, and I can't fix that at this time. So all I could ask is
Joe's mic. Are you sure it's his mic?
And re-enter.
You want
I'm sorry?
Game?
We tried to Joe, and he hasn't done that.
if I exit the studio, the whole thing shuts down. So all of you can exit.
I don't have
Mute everybody until it's their turn.
questions that people can
You're making a great point. Unfortunately, once we start the stream, it's live. So I would ask everybody to leave the studio and then to come back in. And that's the only thing I have as an option. I'm sorry.
Let's try leaving the studio and coming back in.
Just hit refresh or something.
I apologize for the technical difficulties. Things were going great until they weren't. So
You just fixed it.
okay, great.
Yep.
All right, let's start again. Here's the question. Goes to Joe.
Yes.
Joe, how would you answer that question? Your response, sir.
As I said before, the job of a governor, when I'm elected governor, my first job is to protect and defend the Constitution so that we are able to do the things that we are supposed to do. And I think that is where the breakdown is with Gavin Newsom, is to mutilate and become a one-man's rule in California. He is not obeying the Constitution. And I would also be zero tolerant on crime because our people need protection. We need to do our businesses without the criminals interfering with our state. And I would also give more money to the law enforcement. I would like to give more money to the police, buy more better equipment, do better training, so that we are able to deal with the cartels and we are able to deal with the criminals. I would also like to take more.
I'm sorry, that's time. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
The next person up is Diego. Diego, what would you do to stop cartels and drugs coming into California?
You know, that's a very interesting question because we've been dealing with the border problem now for a long time. We have got to secure our borders. We have got to finish building the wall. Now, the wall being built, it will deter people from coming in that way. It'll make them try to come in through the front door. But that's not even enough to stop the cartels. We have got to actually do an audit of our border patrol and the people working there and making sure that we have the right people working there and they're not getting kicked from the cartels to allow the drugs to keep coming into California. We're also going to confiscate. We're doing $15 million a week at each border crossing right now. We're going to take that money and we're going to reinforce that money into our border security. We're going to use that money, and that's the cartel money. So we're going to take their money. We're not giving it back to them. And when we catch them, they're actually going to go ahead and do time in the United States before we deport them. We're going to be tough on them by taking their money, taking their assets, and not letting them get back. We're going to make sure that we do a better job in our border security, and we're going to use their money to help us secure the borders.
Thank you. Excellent. Oh, John is here. He's gone. Okay, we're going to go to the third question. Fuji Shura will read the third question for everyone.
Candidates, is critical race theory a real issue for public schools? What did Newsom do right about this issue, or what would you do differently than Newsom?
It's a terrible issue. We should not allow this in our schools at all. It's divisive, and it's going to teach kids how to hate and the differences between people instead of unifying them. We went through this in the 60s. We've established that we are all the same. We are, and we need to keep carrying that on. It's disgusting to see that people are even pushing for this. I would definitely say that for Newsom to not have totally blocked this and for allow them to keep trying to push this into the school system would be a complete failure on his end. And if, when elected, I would absolutely block this. I would not allow this. This is divisive. We are not a racist nation as much as mainstream media and others would love to make people think that. We are a very loving country, and especially California. We are anything but. Anything but. So, yes, not allow that at all.
Thank you. Going to Jackie McGowan. How would you reply to the question, is critical race theory a real issue for public schools? What did Newsom do right about the issue, or what would you do differently than Newsom?
Critical race theory is a university course that should be studied, at an academic level, and we shouldn't be trying to implement it into children that can't absorb it, And I don't even know what Newsom did. All I can say is I don't know that Newsom's done much right. So, yeah, critical race theory, stay for the university. Thanks.
Okay. Diego.
Yes. So what we have in our school systems right now, we're one of the worst people in education in the United States. We're number 48 out of 50 states. So when we talk about CRT, we have got to actually revamp our whole school system in general. We have got to attack the teachers union and destroy the teachers union and actually hold them accountable for what's being taught. CRT should never be taught in our schools. Nobody should be talking about race other when you're talking about U.S. history. We shouldn't be talking about sexuality in our schools either. And that's another problem that we have to see. We cannot allow transgender boys to play women's sports because it's not fair. It's not right to do that. So when we talk about CRT, even sexual training, or even transgenders, we have got to talk about the whole education system. School choice sure sounds very well. But instead of school choice, we need to refine the whole school system and make sure that our schools are teaching what they're supposed to and that we hold them to a higher standard so we can actually rank up in the state of California and not be the worst in education. That is our biggest problem. We want to isolate one or two. The whole problem is the whole education system in California needs to be reformed. We need to get rid of the teachers union, and we need to hold teachers accountable for what's being taught, and they need to get paid on what they're doing.
Thank you. I made a mistake and I accidentally skipped candidate Simon. We're going to go back to candidate Simon. 1 minute response to the question, sir. And then we will go to John Drake. Candidate Simon, then candidate Drake.
A critical race theory is evil. It should not be happening anywhere in the United States, not in California. I will ban it. We should replace this kind of garbage by bringing the Bible back to school, to the public school. That will bring sanity. That will balance the lives of the students and the teachers and the parents. And we should never, ever think about distancing our people by dividing them through critical race theory. We should be uniting people, not dividing them. And this critical race theory is a divider, not a uniter. So it would not happen under my watch.
Okay.
Thank you.
John Drake, you are unmuted.
All right.
Well, you're
Sweet.
unmuted now.
All right, sweet. As someone who is actually in the education
John.
system, I feel like I have more of an authority on this topic just because I'm currently going through it. I think CRT is a very important thing to teach kids. Not so much at a middle school or elementary level, but definitely high school and university levels, because what it doesn't teach us that, but it doesn't teach that there's oppressed versus oppressor. It only does that if you are teaching it very simplistically, and this should not be something you teach very simplistically. It is a very advanced thing to learn about. It talks about why communities are in the situations they are in, and talks about both historical and current implications of the systems that have put them there. I think it's important to talk about these things because it, like I said earlier, does help us to understand why one community may be advantaged and another one may be disadvantaged. Taking that into account will allow us to be able to better solve the situations of those communities with empathy, sympathy, and allowing us to be able to connect with them and work with them. All right. I yield my time.
Thank you. Please don't.
I'm gonna leave and then answer.
Yes, I'm sorry. If one or two of you can leave and re-enter that team to fix the problem last time, I apologize. However, while they're doing that, if one or two people can leave the studio and come back in, that's the only way this gets fixed. Sorry. Okay. I was going to go to Leo Zaki to ask him about his response to. Perfect. Leo Zaki, let me ask you a question. I noticed that you seem to have a response to candidate Drake's response. I'm going to give an additional minute to each candidate. You're all candidates here. You're qualified for the ballot. And if you become governor of 40 million people, you will have to stand against many critics in your own party, in the legislature, and in the public. And if you cannot defend your ideas, this really isn't a game you should be part of. So, not to pick on anybody, but Leo, I'm going to go to you, and I'm going to give everybody after you 1 minute to respond to what you did or did not like about John Drake's response. You can agree with him, or you could disagree with him, and then John will have a response after that. So, Leo, in 1 minute, what is it you seem to disagree with candidate Drake?
Well, I don't believe that critical race theory is a true representation of what's actually taking place. I can't say because, to the full extent because I haven't been educated in it, I haven't studied it, but from everything that I have been witness to, it just sounds completely divisive and it goes against, and it just plays, it teaches kids a victim role, and it teaches kids that there are differences inherently on race, and that's why they're in some sort of socioeconomic status. Now, you can look back at history and say that there are reasons to a certain extent, but being born here in the United States, we all have the same starting point. Whether yes, you can start impoverished or wealthy, but we all have the same abilities to pick ourselves up and to create something for ourselves. My great-grandfather immigrated to this country and built a poultry empire in this. It's not impossible. There's tons of adversity everywhere you go. It's about how you carry yourself and create what you can for yourself. And I believe that critical race theory is a complete destructive path that will just totally destroy the forward thinking and the cohesion that we have here in the United States.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go in order. Everybody's going to get a chance to agree or disagree with what candidate Drake said, and then candidate Drake will give an additional minute to respond. Then we will move on to the next question. The next person in order is Jackie McGowan.
Can I have John Drake repeat his answer just because of the echo problem? I didn't hear it.
Sure. John, could you repeat your answer?
Yeah, so critical race theory how I see it. Sorry, I now have to think about it again. Okay, so critical race theory does not really teach oppressor versus oppressed. It teaches mainly why, or gives an insight as to why communities of color may be in the situations they are in, economically, socially, and politically. It basically talks about the underlying root causes of former systematic racism and how now that how that pushes them into sort of economic disparities between what you would basically say between the Black community and white community. My phone is needing to cool down. Someone needs to mute me, and then sorry.
Thank you. Okay, candidate McGowan.
Okay.
Do you agree? Do you disagree? 1 minute.
I absolutely disagree. I want children playing hopscotch and, running around in parks and swinging on swings and playing with their friends that they don't realize are different than them. They're just their friends. And trying to force teachers to institute, this educational program that is something that should be taught at an academic level is ridiculous.
Okay. Next up is candidate Simon. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree completely with the CRT. I don't agree with it because, like Martin Luther King said, that we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of what we are, who we are as human beings, who we are as Americans. We should be judged by the content of who we are, our discipline, our qualifications, not the color of our skin. It is evil for anyone to be to teach that somebody is inferior or superior because of the color of their skin. I completely disagree.
Okay. Next up will be candidate Martinez. Candidate Martinez, agree, disagree? In 1 minute, sir.
So I'm going to take it a little bit different. I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born in the United States, and I got the same opportunities, if not better than anybody else. Not because of the color of my skin. It's not because where I come from. Actually, where I come from has a lot to do with it. We were born very poor. We were growing up poor. And the reason I'm where I'm at is because I fought at it. But it's not because of my color. It's not because of who I am. When you go and you teach in schools that because you're white, you have a leg up over somebody who's Black, Asian, or Hispanic, that is a total lie. And that's teaching hatred inside the classroom, because if you're in a bad school district and there's a young man who's white, guess what? His family's probably in the same situation as the rest of you. So we shouldn't be teaching that. Now, this could be a course that we could teach in colleges where we can actually debate. But this is something that should be taught in elementary school, junior high, or high school. This should be an elective in college, part of a debate class more than something that we teach people. Because what we're teaching people is excuses for being failures or excuses for why they can't get ahead in life. And the reality is there's only one excuse why you can't get ahead in life, and I don't care what color you are, where you come from. And that's the person looking in the other side of the mirror when you get up every morning.
Thank you. Candidate Drake, you have 1 minute to respond. Not to pick on you, but this is a debate, and all of you are ballot qualified candidates. Candidate Drake, 1 minute response. Then we'll go to question 4.
All right. So let me just give a quick lesson on critical race theory. So segregation obviously existed in California for a long time. After the fall of segregation, you had redlining that existed in Los Angeles and other major communities, which separated communities of color versus white communities. Now, even though that is now illegal, the lingering effects of that are still seen in the.
Okay. I apologize. We'll wait for better communication. John, sorry about that.
These issues from understanding these background issues will help us to better tackle the issue of creating an equitable state and better represent the communities that this is affecting. That's why we teach critical race theory. And so,
okay, I'm sorry. We tried to give it the best shot.
Understand.
Technical difficulties. I apologize, candidate Drake. We're going to move on. Technical difficulties with the response. We're going to go to question 4 now. Fuji Shora, would you read the question to everybody, please? Question 4.
Candidates, what would you do different about homelessness than what Faulkner did in San Diego and Newsom in California? Leo Zaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Well, certainly would not be putting them up in hotels and paying for it, because that doesn't work. It's essentially giving a man a fish as opposing to teaching a man to fish. And my plan is to teach a man to fish through giving. Well, first we have to build facilities where we can take in the homeless to get them off the streets, and that will go hand in hand with enforcing vagrancy laws. Now, they're not prisoners, and this is completely optional. It's up to their discretion, but enforcing vagrancy laws will take place. So at the facilities that I'd like to be able to provide for them, we'll take them in. First off, figure out who they are, do they have family looking for them, and then to determine what kind of mental illness they may have or drug addiction. And then when they're there, they can be provided with treatment. While they're there, they'll also be able to get education and hands-on job training. With that, they'll be able to be reacclimated into society if they wish to choose. And they will be earning a wage while they're doing that, plus being provided health care, because that's how we help bring people up off the streets and reintegrate them into society. And you have to give them that opportunity, because there are none right now. And simply providing shelter and food is not the only thing that's going to solve the problem. It's a Band-Aid.
Candidate Simon, what would you do different about
I'm
homelessness?
sorry, it's McGowan. I'm sorry, Jackie's next.
Jackie McGowan, if you please, what would you do different about homelessness than what Faulkner did in San Diego and Newsom in California?
So homelessness is a multi-layered issue, and it needs to be addressed first at a mental health level. People don't choose to be homeless. They are, drug addicts or underprivileged or mentally ill, and we need to get to the root cause of what that issue is first. We need to heal the trauma that is causing these issues, and then we need affordable housing. And on top of affordable housing, the only way to get affordable housing is to roll back some of the regulations that developers have to face in order for them to fast track some affordable housing. After that, we need gap subsidies, and we need to be able to supplement someone's income in order for them to afford the houses in the areas that they live in, until we can get the price of houses to come down and implement affordable housing.
Thank you. Joe Simon.
Yes, dealing with the homelessness. I must say that Faulkner has not succeeded, neither Gavin has succeeded, because they are using the wrong methods. I do believe that homelessness is a consequence of drugs, mental illness, and sometimes people are just lazy. So as a born-again Christian for the last 48 years, I used to drink quite a bit and almost became homeless myself. But when I went to church and God saved my life and changed my way of thinking, changed my heart, I began to see a different worldview. So I would go to the church and begin to work with the churches and give them incentives, because it is the mission and the mandate of the church to help the homeless, to help the poor in our society. And I would like to work with the pastors, with the people who are qualified to deal with the hearts and the minds of the people, the citizens of California, and be able to deal with the homelessness at that level. Because just taking a homeless person and putting him in a hotel, you have not changed his mind. You have not changed his, you have just changed him from his environment to another different environment, but the thinking is still the same. We need to use pastors, we need to use doctors, we need to take care of their minds and their hearts so that they can also be able to take care of themselves. That's how I would approach it.
Thank you, Simon. Diego Martinez, how would you reply to the question?
Well, we all know that the homeless problem is a California problem, not a county to county problem. That's a big issue. Last year, we spent $4 billion in the homeless situation, and all we're doing is putting a Band-Aid. You want to talk about Gavin Newsom or you want to talk about John Faulkner? They both did the exact same thing. They both got hotels, they put people in them, and they didn't solve anything. It was just a quick Band-Aid to get a couple hundred people off the ground, out of the streets, which really caused the problem to be bigger. So what they did is made a mistake. Kevin Faulkner spent $93 million on one hotel and $43 million on another. Well, let's address the real issue here with the homeless. First of all, it's a California state problem. We need to address it like California. Gavin Newsom thinks that we need to take care of the homeless from other states, and that's a problem in itself. Also, Gavin Newsom just passed a new budget for $12 billion to go towards the homeless. So let's cut the budget in half. Let's take $6 billion out of that 12. Let's take the old mental health hospitals that we have, let's reopen them up, because we all understand that 70% of the homeless people have mental health issues, and we need to be able to actually address their problems right away. We also know SB 640 has been sitting in the governor's desk, which will not sign it. That'd be my first order of business. The second order of business, I will fight the Supreme Court in their 1967 ruling against Ronald Reagan and making him close down mental health. So I will go to court and I will battle it for those people to actually be able to get the help that they need. The other 30% of the homeless people, we're going to take the old warehouses and the old buildings that the county and the state already owns. We're going to give these people a trade. They're going to help us build their own housing, so we're going to give them some pride. We're also going to build a rehab center with alcohol and drug rehab with a counselor on for 24 hours so that we can actually have accountability for what's going on in these programs. We're going to give these people a hand up, not a hand down. Within a year, they'll be able to return into society because they'll be clean and they'll have a trade so that they can actually go back to work.
Thank you. Okay, Fuji, we're going to go to question 5, which is somewhat related, but they asked it at the Fox 11 Nixon Library debate.
Candidates, what would you do as governor to get the legislature to deal with homelessness? Starting with Leo.
Well, I'd take them on a field trip for a start. Show them what is actually happening in our communities. It's a statewide issue, and maybe they live in their ivory towers and are ignorant to this, and that's a shame because we need to actually get these people to see what's going on. I mean, Venice Beach, and sure they're cleaning it up, but they're just pushing the dirt somewhere else. I'm not calling them dirt. I'm saying it's not. They're not cleaning up the situation. So you have to be able to get people to really feel for this and see it with their own eyes and get hands-on with it, for them to really appreciate the situation and to want to make that change. I think that is probably the most useful tool, is to bring them and get them hands-on and show them how and why and have them talk to people. Because folks on the street are homeless for a multitude of reasons. And speaking with them can give you a wealth of knowledge as to how we can help them.
Thank you. Jackie McGowan, what would you do as governor to get the legislature to deal with homelessness?
I feel this question is a bit repetitive, but I can expand upon it. I would first treat trauma. We cannot rehabilitate people without addressing trauma. And I would implement that plan by first legalizing psychedelics for research purposes, the same way that Oregon has, in order to offer a different solution to that problem. Then I would roll back regulations to incentivize land developers to have an easier time building homes, affordable homes, quicker. And then rehabilitation and job training and those types of things, and gas subsidy. Like, I would take that allotment that Newsom has spent and spend it in a way to just stop the disparity until we can get the price of homes to come down.
Really good. Thank you. Joe Simon, what would you do as governor to get the legislature to deal with homelessness?
Again, I must say it goes all the way back to the management of the state as governor. We have spent $4 or $5 billion on this issue, and nothing has happened. There are structures in this state that it needs to be well equipped, structures that it needs to receive this money so that they can be able to change the lives of these people, train them better, and use that money to not only to shelter these homeless people, but also to train them, and so that we can be able to equip them to go back into the society to take care of themselves and take care of their families. This is what I would do as governor.
Thank you, Simon. And Diego Martinez, what would you do as governor to get the legislature to deal with homelessness?
Well, the real question that you guys are asking is how are we going to get the House and the Assembly to work with us when we're a Republican governor and they are actually a Democratic hold or stronghold on our legislation? Because that's the real question that we're asking here. Because we need them to help us write legislation. One thing that we're forgetting, the Democratic Party, who has a stronghold, is a charity case. They like to help people. So when you put a straightforward, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to help people for the better of humanity, they will come aboard and want to write the legislation because that will be their legacy leaving behind. What we have done right now has been a Band-Aid, and it hasn't worked. So with the solid plan, like opening up mental health, giving them a trade, using government building that we already have, and cut the budget where we can actually use the rest of the money for infrastructure, anybody on the right mind would want to come and join this. We talk about affordable housing, but that's a whole different subject, not exactly what we're talking about here. How do you convince somebody? You negotiate and you talk and you get both sides to believe in a better future for California, because as governor of California, my main and only one interest is what's best for California.
Thank you, Diego.
Here's our next question. What would you do to deal with the rising crime wave in California? First up, candidate Zaki.
You have to let the police do their job. It's a difficult job, and there's a lot of very touchy-feely sort of situations that, you know, people can sometimes consider crossing the line. But if you don't allow police to do their job, you're going to keep having this crime wave. We have horrible situations with the DAs that are just letting these criminals go through the revolving door process. And we also have a huge issue with the changing of the laws. Now that people can shoplift up to $900 and some places $950, and it just becomes a misdemeanor. And then to have the police be told that they can't enforce misdemeanors. So you set yourself up for the crime. And that's because the problem starts at the top. It starts with the corrupt DAs. It starts with an attorney general who's not doing anything. And it's literally the handcuffing of the police and not allowing them to perform their duties that we, the citizens of this state, request and pay them to do.
Thank you, Leo. Going to Jackie McGowan. What would you do to deal with the rising crime wave in California?
First, we need to understand that people are not committing crimes because they're bored. They're doing it because they're desperate. How do we end their desperation? Create more jobs. We rolled out regulations. We incentivize small businesses to get operating and put more businesses in poor communities. If we were to create more jobs, we would see a decrease in crime.
Thank you, Jackie McGowan. Candidate Joe Simon, what would you do to deal with the rising crime wave in California?
Well, the first of all, why is the crime increasing in California? It's increasing because the people who are supposed to be keeping the law, the people who are supposed to be working, they are not working. They are minding their own businesses. We have very corrupt leaders who are not working. And when they begin to talk about defunding the police, for me, for one, I would not defund the police. I would give more money to the police and all the law enforcement and train them even much better so that they can be able to keep our communities safe. Because it is the responsibility of the police and all the law enforcement to keep us safe. and I would give more ammunition, more training, more money to the law enforcement, so that the criminals are put where they belong, to jail.
Thank you, candidate Joe Simon. Candidate Diego Martinez, what would you do to deal with the rising crime wave in California?
Well, since I'm the only one on the panel that actually works with criminals every day and the police department, it's actually a simpler question answered. First of all, we need to put Prop 47 back on the ballot and have the California people get explained exactly what Prop 47 was and turn it down in a real vote where there will be no more 2 years. You don't go to state prison. You actually stay in county jails, which overloaded our county jails, which brought 109, which made everything a cite and release instead of actually making it what it's supposed to be. So what we need to do is, first of all, is rewrite the laws in the state of California, bring law and order, and actually support our police departments. I support good police officers, good sheriffs. But if there's a police officer that gets out of line, they actually will pay the consequences for what they did wrong. So we have to have accountability on both sides. One thing that we're lacking in the state is boots on the ground. We're going to give the police the funding that they need to get more police officers to actually be able to walk neighborhoods. You want to control crime in the neighborhood? First of all, if you do the crime, you're going to do the time. Second of all, you put more police officers out there that are walking the beat, that are patrolling the area, especially in higher crime areas, and you give them the authority and the respect that they deserve to actually arrest somebody, and then you make sure that the district attorney and the deputy district attorneys of those counties follow the law and actually prosecute people. Not like Gus Stone over in LA, because if I was in office right now, he'd be getting actually charged for accessory to every crime. He will not try to try somebody. Their job is to try people and put them in jail. Their job is to do that. The defense attorney is to keep them out.
That was
Thank you,
excellent,
Candidate Diego
everybody.
Martinez.
You're all doing very well. We're going to go to the next question, read by Fuji Shiora. All of these questions, again, if you're just joining us with the debate, we are recreating the Fox 11 debate happening tonight and still live right now with what they consider to be the most probable candidates. We find that a dubious distinction and said, you, the voters, get to determine who are the top line candidates, and no one else should do that for you. Yes, California has been hosting debates since March. We've hosted debates with 25% of all of the candidates, and we're proud to continue to make sure that you, the public, gets information of the people who you may be choosing amongst, something the mainstream media has somehow refused to do. Next question, read by Fuji Shiora.
Candidates, would you send the National Guard to the border to stop undocumented immigrants? Candidate Leo Zaki.
Well, the real question is, would they be able to do anything? And if so, absolutely. Would they be able to detain people? Would they be able to document them? And would they be able to deport them? That's the question. If that is the case, then absolutely. Otherwise, if you're just sending them to the border, you're just wasting their time and money. So as long as it's going to actually bring real results, then absolutely, there's no reason not to. And if we could even use the National Guard to help supplement and build the wall as well, that would be wonderful. I know Trump was using the Army Corps of Engineers to some extent. So, whatever it takes, I want to make sure that we have a secure border. It's imperative, not just for national security, but for the safety and security of our citizens, and to actually give real value to what it means to be a United States citizen. If anybody can just come here, it totally values that whole.
Okay, thank you, Candidate Leo Zaki. Candidate Jackie McGowan, what would you send the National Guard to the border to stop undocumented immigrants?
Absolutely not. You don't stick machine guns and military weapons in the faces of people fleeing because they're economically depressed and need food. No.
Thank you, Candidate McGowan. Candidate Joe Simon, would you send the National Guard to the border to stop undocumented immigrants?
When it comes to that crisis, I would definitely, because the lives of the residents of California comes number one. As governor, I would protect the lives of our people, and anything that would help to protect their lives, I would do it. And of course, I would want to know why the immigration has failed. because that needs to be rehabilitated, because before we send the National Guard, there is a problem with the immigration, because somebody is not doing his job. So I would scrutinize the loopholes, the weaknesses, where the problems are coming from, so that we can be able to seal every loophole. But as I said, the work of the governor is to protect the people of California, number one, to protect the Constitution, to protect our family values. If it needs be that the wall will need to be rebuilt, I won't hesitate. Anything that would protect the lives of the people of California, I am for it.
Thank you, candidate Joe Simon. Candidate Diego Martinez, would you send?
The interesting subject here is immigration reform. We got to do an immigration reform. Would I send the National Guard down to the border? Yes, I would if it's needed. But if you do an immigration reform program where it makes sense, you don't need it. Right now, our president of the United States and our vice president invited immigrants to come into the United States, and then they shut the door on them. Now you have a border crisis problem that we need to address first before you send anybody down there. You have to stop human trafficking. So how do you do that? You got to close the border, and if you need the National Guard to help and assist the Border Patrol to keep people out, then you do that. But reality is we need to fix the immigration program in the United States, and especially in the state of California. How do you do that? You take everybody who's here, 10 million people, and you stop with the sanctuary cities, you stop with the free benefits, you stop with the free medical, and you actually give them a 4-year work permit like the Barara program had, where they can stay here 4 years, they can actually work, and we can do a background check and make sure we know who's actually here in the United States. Now, the people that don't earn that right, then we need to deport. Now, security to the United States and to California should be our #1 priority because of the safety of the California people.
Thank you, candidate Diego Martinez.
Next question, read by Fuji Shora.
Candidates, how do you get people back to work so that small businesses can recover? Starting with candidate Leo Zaki.
Go back to normal. Stop with this whole afraid of COVID thing. I mean, if you're afraid of COVID and you want to wear a mask, that's your choice. You want to get injected, that's your choice. But putting all these rules and shutting things down, especially the economy, you're crippling everyone. Everything goes into the toilet when you do that. Just go back to normal. Everybody's like, how do we do that? It's simple. Go back to normal. Wear a mask if you want.
Thank you, candidate Joe Zaki. Candidate Jackie McGowan, how do you get people back to work so that small businesses can recover?
I think California is already moving in that direction. They're ending unemployment. And what we have to do whenever in a pandemic, while raising the requirements to, prohibit businesses from being successful, and that's, safety precautions in the form of social distancing and fewer people inside and wearing masks and extra, products to keep everyone safe. We need to lower regulations on another level. If we're going to increase regulations on one end, then we need to pause, like the planning department's requirements and inspections or, other things. We have to have a holistic approach to getting this economy back up and running.
Thank you, candidate Jackie McGowan. Candidate Joe Simon, how would you get people back to work so businesses can recover in California?
Well, in the first place, the problem has been the lockdowns, which has affected our businesses, has affected our schools, has affected our churches. And I would open up California for the businesses to begin to operate again. I would also reduce taxes as an incentive to encourage people to start new businesses, and those which are existing, even give them incentives on how they can be able to recover, because everything has been downsized. You just need to go to a business and see the people there. They have not completely recovered. You need to go to the church and see that because of the closures, the churches have really gone down. And and when they closed the churches, they opened the bars and other places of entertainment. And the first thing that you do as governor, or I would do as governor, I would not close churches, because that is where our spiritual resource comes from. That's where our strength, our encouragement comes from. We begin with God. As Jesus said that seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things you are looking for, they shall be added unto you. We need God in the first place. And that way we'll be able to reinforce our workers, we'll be able to create more employment, and we'll be able to make our businesses rise again.
Thank you, candidate Joe Simon. Candidate Diego Martinez, how would you get people back to work so that small businesses can recover?
Well, that's a heck of a question, right? When we lost 70% of our small business in the state of California due to COVID-19. You know, we have a real issue with unemployment in the state of California. So the first thing is we have to cut down unemployment, stop giving people extra money, stop paying people money to stay at home and not do anything. There's a lot of small businesses right now that don't have enough people wanting to work there because they're getting X amount of money to sit at home and do nothing. So you got to fix the unemployment, and you got to cut that out. Second, you have to deregulate California and incentivize businesses to want to come back into California so we can actually have more jobs available for the people, especially when you lost 70% of small businesses. Then you have to work with on-the-job training with small, big, and medium-sized companies. You got to bring trade schools back so we can train our people so you can actually have a good career, because not everybody's meant to go to college, but everybody's meant to make a good living. On-the-job training. If you own a construction company and you take a kid or a young man or somebody who has no skills in that field and you give them a job, we're going to incentivize you at the end of the year with a tax break for going ahead and hiring people and getting them back to work. You also need to look at what's going on in the small business world. A lot of people now are working from home because we have figured out that we don't need a brick and mortar place. We need to incentivize people to open up their second and third businesses, and we need to help small businesses grow by educating them and giving them the funding that they need to start a new business and hire more people. The real question here is, how can we get Californians back to work, to cut down unemployment, open up trade schools, open up opportunities and tax breaks for everybody who hires somebody, and get them back to work.
Thank you, candidate Diego Martinez.
This is a related question, but it is the next question as it was asked at the Nixon Foundation debate. Fuji Shura.
Yes. How do you attract businesses to California and keep companies from exiting California? Going to candidate Leo Zaki.
You lower the taxes, you lower the regulation. And you cut the red tape, and you even have to look at cutting some environmental protocols, because they're completely inhibiting to how business can operate and function here in California. Having been in the agriculture industry, the environmental regulations surged the price of water and electricity, and it just made production a huge expense, far greater than it is with any other state, and it just inhibits the ability to be competitive. So you need to make California a competitive business atmosphere, and by reducing the regulations and lowering taxes all the way through is going to help encourage that. I don't see any other way of how do you become more competitive without that. You just can't.
Very insightful. Thank you. Candidate Jackie McGowan, how do you attract businesses to California and keep companies from exiting California?
Well, first you have to start with stopping driving them out of California. You can't attract them when there's a mass exodus of people and businesses, because they cannot meet the requirements of overregulation and overtaxation and make a living, right? And then we have to pay attention to emerging markets. You know, there's a whole new crypto world out there. Why aren't we saying, hey, Silicon Valley, you should be the hub of this. You're the tech leader of the world. What can we do to help you? Okay. And the legal cannabis industry has been, overregulated to the point where there's a suicide a week right now. Out of 8,000 licenses, they are committing suicide at the rate of 1 a week. That doesn't make a headline, but when milk farmers kill themselves, they do.
Very interesting, candidate McGowan. Candidate Joe Simon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the question. How do you attract businesses to California and keep companies from exiting California?
The reason why there is a moratorium or businesses are exiting California is because of the high taxes. California is the highest taxed state in our nation. And the reason why people go out, they are going to a more friendly environment where taxes are not going to be so high. So I would bring down the taxes by a percentage, 25 to 30%, so that I can be able to give an incentive to our businesses, and even those which have gone away, they can come back. I would also reduce the bureaucracy in starting a new business. I was talking to a friend of mine. He was trying to put up a guest house behind his house, and he needed 14 licenses, different licenses, in order for him to build just a simple 2-bedroom guest house behind his house. And he tried that for 2 years until he gave up. Those are the kind of bureaucracies that we need to reduce or completely cut off, so that people can be able to start new businesses and also create more employment. Increasing taxes is not the solution for our businesses to grow. It is removing the hindrances, the handicaps, the roadblocks to getting into a new business or doing something that is a passion for our residents here in California.
Thank you, candidate Joe Simon. Candidate Diego Martinez, how do you attract businesses to California and keep companies from exiting California?
Well, the first thing is we have to become business friendly. California has to be open for businesses to want to come back. We have got to be competitive with our neighboring states so people stop leaving us. We have to deregulate California. But most of all, we have got to get the water problem solved in the state of California, because we're losing a lot of our farmers because there's not enough water in the state of California. We're losing residents because they don't have water in their houses. So let's just go back to very simple. Deregulate California and attract new businesses by encouraging them and incentivizing them to be in the state of California, also incentivizing them to hire our people here in the state of California. We have got to break the water rights and actually put the water so our farmers have enough water so they can hire more people. So instead of going to 20 acres, they could go back to their 100 acres of agricultural every year. We also have got to take care of our wildfires in the state of California. We also have an energy problem. Without any of that getting fixed, no business is going to want to do business in the state of California, because when it's hot, they're going to shut off the power. So we have to look at nuclear to bring nuclear back. We have to bring desalination in so our farmers have water. We have got to bring the lumber industry back into the state of California so we can thin out our forests, so that we can fight our forest fires a lot faster by getting into these roads. So we have a lot of basically infrastructure that we have to work so we can bring companies and attract them to come back to the state of California.
Thank you, candidate Diego Martinez. Candidates,
Last question, Fuji.
last question. How would you increase water supply to agriculture, or do you agree with the governor's order to reduce water to farms? Going to Leo Zaki, candidate Leo Zaki.
I strongly disagree with Newsom's decision to restrict water to farming. Agriculture is the quintessential part of California that makes it the world's 5th largest economy. By building more reservoirs, upgrading the ones that already exist, and making a huge push into desalination, we can eliminate this man-made problem once and for all. In the short term, I would even consider looking into building a water pipeline from Oregon as a quick solution, if possible. But there's no reason that California can't solve this man-made problem and even become a water exporter. We have thirsty neighbors to our east, and I'm sure Mexico will love some quality, fresh, clean water from us as well. There's no reason that we can't increase that ability. It's about their fixed costs, right? And if you can lower your fixed costs with more supply and being able to sell more product, water in this case, you can bring in revenue and lower those costs, making affordability all the way around through the whole state for everyone. Citizens will have cheaper water, and agriculture will have cheaper water, businesses, and it just promotes growth all the way through. And if we can fix these foundational issues, which water is, we can become the pinnacle of water production and a world leader in that aspect.
Thank you, candidate Leo Zaki. Candidate Jackie McGowan, how would you increase water supply to agriculture, or do you agree with the governor's order to reduce water to farms?
Once I become governor, I would like to start with an audit of where our water supply is going to balance where the wet and dry areas of the state. I would end the contract with Nestle immediately. I would then see, how we could assist our farmers better and help them manage their water. And I would bring in tribes to help them advise me on exactly how to do that. California is the 5th largest economy in the entire world. We supply the globe their food, and we have to protect that. We have to do more for farmers.
Thank you, candidate Jackie McGowan. Candidate Joe Simon, the question to you is:
water is life.
Hmm.
Water is life. The first thing you want when you wake up is to drink water. Without water, you are done. You are finished. We need water for our families. We need water for our ranchers. We need water for our farmers. And the increase of it means more productivity. I would, we have a landscape just like Israel has, but they have used the technology, even though the ground is thirsty. Underground, there is a lot of water. I would create dams. I would dig wells. This would help even when we have wildfires, also for our firemen to be able to get water close to where the fire is. So I would not allow the floods when the water comes in the rain that it will flow all the way to the Pacific Ocean. I would build reservoirs that would hold water and even use more technology to be able to drill wells, and water reservoirs would be plenty so that everybody has access to water. That is what I would do as governor.
Thank you, candidate Joe Simon. Candidate Diego Martinez, how would you increase water supply to agriculture, or do you agree with the governor's order to reduce water to farms?
Well, first of all, I do not agree with anything Gavin Newsom has actually done. He's actually destroyed our farms. We went from providing 80% of the vegetables and the food in the United States down to 20%. Our farmers are dying on the vine and they need their water. So how do you do that? First of all, you stop dumping our water in the ocean and you keep our reservoirs full. You also start desalination plants. We have 3 of them down south, 1 up north. We open them back up when we work with the private industry. We get desalination going. We also build infrastructure for our water dams and we rebuild them. We also build one to hold 3 years worth of water for the state of California. What do you do with your excess water? You build a pipeline from California to Arizona and Nevada, and we sell them our extra water that we have. Let them keep California people employed. Also, you also have Mendocino County, who's actually having to truck in their water because their dam is half empty. We need to get these places the water that they deserve. California and human rights and human life is more important than a guppy fish that's trying to float into the Delta. So we need to cut that out and actually start thinking about our survival here. Desalination has been going on in other countries for a long time. They do it in the military and the Navy ships, so we know it's safe to drink, and we know we need to put that back in the state of California so we can have our own water and actually sell the excess water so that we can keep Californians employed.
Thank you, candidate Diego Martinez.
Well, that concludes our 10 questions. There were more questions asked, but we like to do short, succinct debates because it increases the viewership. Smaller debates with a lot of questions and a lot of candidates, rapid fire information is just frankly the way people like their information these days. Blame MTV 20 years ago. We're going to go to closing statements now. Now, here's the thing. Most of you seem to agree with each other. Unfortunately, The voters don't get to do that. They have to pick one person who's better than everybody else. This is a 2-minute closing statement to all 4 candidates in the same order. However, we are expecting you to point out how your answers were better than everyone else's at this debate. Picture someone watching this. Why are you the person they should vote for over everyone else here? You can't appear to be too aligned with everybody. Voters don't get to pick 40 people. They only get to pick one. Place yourself as the top candidate and explain why you are the best choice in less than 2 minutes. We'll start with Leo.
Well, having been part of the agriculture industry my entire life, I have firsthand experience in what makes California the world's 5th largest economy. I've also been a board member of the California Poultry Federation. I've been around our politicians. I've been to DC. I've been to Sacramento. I've met with these people and had one-on-one interactions and been to all sorts of events and dinners with them. And I can tell you that they are, for the most part, terrible people. That's why I'm running, because I know, just like you at home, how corrupt everything is nowadays. And I'm not here to sit and stand idly by to it. I'm taking a stand. And I want to fix California. We know what the problems are. Together, we can do this. We need to forget about left and right. This isn't about that. It's about California. We are one team. We are Team California. And we need to come together and put myself in charge so I can make the better decisions for everyone. We can bring people together. We can stop this senseless polarization that the media keeps dividing us on. We have the power to take back our state and to make California the beautiful place that we know it is. The envy of the world. Everybody wanted to come here. And now people are running away in droves. We're losing an electoral college vote because of it. We're witnessing the deterioration of our beautifully beloved home. My family's been in California for over 100 years, and I can't stand to see it go down the tube anymore. And I know, just like you, we don't want that. There's many things that are wrong in our state. But if we work together, we can tackle them. And it will take time, but it can be done as long as we work together. And I want to be that unifying force for everyone here in California.
Thank you. Jackie McGowan. Short, succinct answers. Very good.
I got
Why are
this.
you the best candidate? Why are your answers better than everyone else the voters saw this evening? Candidate McGowan.
My answers are better because I came up with more solutions that are actually implementable. Leo sounds like he's an anti-vaxxer that doesn't believe we're living in a pandemic. Diego sounds like he's an angry cop that wants to deregulate the entire state of California so we look like China. And Leo is a Bible thumper that wants us praying, like, teaching the Bible in school. I win.
Okay. Next up will be candidate Simon. Candidate Simon, why are your answers better than everyone else people saw this evening? Why are you the right choice out of everyone that people get to pick? Candidate Simon.
Well, first of all, I want to agree with my brothers and my sister here that the reason why they are running this race is because they love this state of California. And there is one thing that we did not mention, which is probably not one of the questions, but I just wanted to say, personally, I'm a born-again Christian for the last 48 years. I am married to one wife. I've got 3 children. And I would lead this state becoming a model of what a good Christian ought to be. And also, I've been born again for the last 48 years. I've been talking with God. God has been talking to me. And we can find most of our solutions in the Word of God, in the spiritual realm. Like 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 13 says that when I said famine, when I said drought, when I said pestilences like the pandemic that we have, COVID-19 or Delta, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and forsake their sins and turn away from their wicked ways and seek my face, Then he promises that he will do three things. He will hear our prayers from heaven. He will forgive our sins. And the last thing that he will do, he will heal our land. California needs healing. We need our families to be healed. Our politics needs to be healed. And I think this is what I would offer better than anybody else. But I cannot bash any of my rivals here because they love California, and that's the reason why they are running. And the last thing I would say is that Gavin must go on September 14th, and Joe Simon must replace him.
Okay. Thank you. Right on time. Last person, and then we're going to go to a closing statement by Fuji Shiora. Last person, Diego Martinez. Why do you have the right answers? Better than anyone else that the candidates can see tonight, tomorrow, or all the way up to September 15th. Diego Martinez.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. Sorry I was a little late today. My website, DiegoMartinezForGovernor.com. One thing that I take pride in, real California solutions for real California problems. I don't dance around the issues. I tell you my plan for everything that we need to fix in the state of California. We have sat down idly. We have stood by idly watching career politicians destroy our state. California deserves a person who actually knows and understands business, who actually has a game to actually solve the situations and the problems in the state of California. Do I sound angry? I am. And the rest of you should be too, because we have allowed career politicians to destroy our beautiful state. We have allowed them to overtax us, make California an unaffordable state where we're losing business every day. Yes, I'm upset and angry at what we have let legislation and the government of the state do to us. We lose jobs every day to other states because they are deregulated. Deregulation doesn't mean there's no regulation. It makes it affordable and able for people to want to live here and stay in the state. And that's what we're losing. Why am I better than the next person? Because I'm a real person. I work for a living just like everybody else. And I understand what that tax increase did to our gas the other day. That's why. Not only that, look at DiegoMartinezForGovernor.com. Every answer that you're looking for is right there. And if that's not good enough for you, do me a favor. Come to Waking Up California every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on Instagram and Facebook Live, and come and ask. I'm more than happy to share my ideas. Both parties have failed the state of California. It's time that we unite and bring back a place where everybody's affordable and can live and enjoy the rest of our futures. My name is Diego Martinez, and you can look me up at DiegoMartinezForGovernor.com. Thank you guys for having me.
Right at 2 minutes. Closing statements. I want to say thank you to all the candidates for being here. I want to say thank you to all of the candidates for trusting Yes California to be able to host an impartial debate. I know we made mistakes, but I think we've proven that we're dedicated to not putting words in your mouth, allowing you to speak for yourself, and making sure that your information goes directly to the voters. And I think you've seen that the prediction we made months ago, that there was going to be an unfair media blackout, and that we would be possibly one of the few opportunities for people in California to get information out, has played out exactly as we predicted, unfortunately. We're going to go to closing statements by Fuji Shiora, and then we'll end the debate. Thank you all for being here. Fuji Shiora.
Hello, everybody. To candidate Jackie McGowan, candidates Leo Zaki, candidates Diego Martinez, candidate Joe Simon, thank you so much for attending this debate. You know, earlier today, prior to this debate, they said, one of the moderators, and I quote in verbatim, "First California recall debate." Wow. We know the truth on that. That's what it was said. Also, what is very concerning to me, not just as a voter, a native Californian, but as an elected official, this is the only California debate with an elected official, with Yes California hosting this event. And I'm proud to say that Yes California represents what we're looking at: an African American, a Latino immigrant, an Asian American like myself, a female running for governor with great, amazing ideas, and a farmer that wants to give back and feed people in ways through policy. This is what America's about. This is what California is about. A multicultural, multilingual, multi-ethnic background. And this is the debate I and the voters deserve, not just 4 standard candidates who were somehow elected or chosen by some selective group of people that I don't know who did. But the Nixon presidency was full of scandal, secrecy, and many more scandals. And now our democracy is now being subverted. And this is not a Republican issue, a Democrat issue, a Green Party or Libertarian issue. This is indeed a democracy issue. And now more than ever, this is the first debate that I know of for California governor recall with an elected official. And as an elected official, I am honored to be with you and each and one of every you. And always remember the audience. Today, that debate said, first California recall debate. Let that sink in. That was matter of record. They said that tonight. We know the truth. And the truth is, for you, the voter, visit my personal website at www.candidate.contact. All the known registered candidates running for California governor, all there, their websites, their emails, and so forth. So voters of California, vote for yourself. Be different. Be the change you want others to be. Believe in sovereign choice. Believe in the dignity and inalienable right to choose your elected representative. Not other people that choose for you, but for you. That is sovereign choice. That is yes, California. And thank you, gracias, arigato, kamsahamnida, en toda e shukran. Good night, everybody, and God bless.
Good night. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care. Love working with you, Fuge. Thank you all.
Good job.
Fuji's always good to see you, buddy.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We're going to end the broadcast.